Hi, and welcome to your Happiness Safari podcast, your podcast for a happier and more meaningful life. My name is Nadine, and I'm so happy you are here. This podcast should help you be inspired to live the life you want and be happy while you live it. Today on the podcast, I speak to Nico. After his work as an assistant professor and well-being researcher at the Free University of Brussels in Belgium, Nico focused 100% on his athletic career and became 5 times Belgian, Benelux, European and Vice World Champion in Muay Thai. When injuries forced him to hang up the gloves, Nico started to use his performance and well-being psychology expertise to help athletes, CEOs and their teams optimize their performance without killing their health, relationships and happiness. He worked with everyone from world champions to CEOs to turn their stress into their competitive advantage with his signature system that consists of evidence-based psychology, proven executive coaching, and hypnosis. In short, he helps ambitious go-getters to enjoy their impressive lives while they are building it. Nico and I speak about his happiness journey and how his happiest moment was related to a lot of pain. He shares what he did to transform his life when his career, living his passion, was over. We also speak about the function of dopamine, connection with ourselves, our partner, the world, and life, and what to do to create more of these connections. From the episode, you will learn how you can perform with pleasure, how you can be unconditionally happy, how you can deeply connect with someone through Tantra, what fighting and dancing have in common, what real intimacy is, and why relationships are a fast track to growth. Nico also shares a super short but powerful exercise on how to feel more pleasure. And now get yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hi, welcome everyone to the Happiness Safari podcast. Today I have the pleasure to talk to Nico from Belgium, all the way in Portugal. Welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How are you?
I am doing fantastic as well. So I just got to experience one little hypnosis session. So I guess you're going to tell the listeners a little bit more about what you are doing. Feeling very relaxed and very happy right now. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, would you like to tell the listeners who you are and what you do?
So I'm Nico Verresen, and I'm the owner of Perform with Pleasure. And for me, this is my mission. Because I'm an organizational psychologist, because I wanted to help people to get more fulfillment, more happiness in their jobs. But then after my internship, I was like, this is absolutely the opposite of what I wanted to do. So in that moment, I decided to go for my other passion. And besides psychology, my other passion was fighting. I was a professional martial artist. I was Muay Thai European champion, vice world champion, and I had like 65 fights. So it was my life for a long, long time. So what do you do as a professional athlete? Well, you get paid to rest. And resting for me was studying. So I started studying a lot. But at the age of 30, I was just on the verge of breaking through. I was in the States. I was going to do the Ultimate Fighter, the TV show. I had a sponsor. I had a contract with a gym to teach there. It was all finally aligned. And then at the medical check, I found out that both of my retinas were detached. And so my dream collapsed. I had 7 more surgeries and I had to stop. And I can't tell you, like, listen, I sacrificed everything. I worked on a PhD. I sacrificed that for my fighting. People that I loved, I sacrificed everything. You know, like because my mission was just becoming a legend in the fight world. But in that darkness, you know, there is something that I found out. And there was like this forever shining jewel, I always say, that I found there. Because the reason that I didn't step into my fullest potential was because I was trying to force it. I didn't listen to my body. I was like Rocky. I just kept going forward. And it gives very exciting fights, but my body didn't like it too much, you know. So and so But then I started working with some athletes and helped them to get to the world championships. I had three people I helped, but then some of them, when they won the world title, instead of being happy, they were depressed and they were self-medicating. I was like, what is going on? And then I started going back into the literature, about positive psychology and about well, yeah, like burnout and post victory depression. It's a real thing. It happens quite a lot. Like, because then they reach the sun, they reach the peak, yeah, and now what? So, and that's where the idea of perform with pleasure start to fruit. Like, to me, the people I work with, they're really successful. And very often they come to me, they want more, or they're like at the moment that they say like, yeah, now what? I have everything and I feel empty. So because they train themselves to be a dopamine hunter. And dopamine is you're focused on the outside on things you don't have. And when you're approaching that, you get those little dopamine surges. So it's really nice. It feels good. But the problem is that it is the more you're gonna achieve, the less dopamine is getting released. Literally, you're habituating to that hormone, and so it doesn't work. And what also happens is you're depleting those resources. So because you're hyper focused on only one kind of enjoyment, the go mode, you forget the rest. And the rest is what I call, and I always like to look back into the body, is serotonin. And serotonin is connected with being a champion, but also with celebrating what we have and celebrating it with the people we love. And that very often gets pushed to the side. We can do that later when I have arrived at A, B, and C. But then again, it's conditional. So then they have conditional happiness. But the problem is then they get there where they want to get to. And then they've trained their nervous system to always be striving and never just being. And so, yeah, and so that's why I do what I do. So I want, and I started working with first with athletes, but then very soon I had a bunch of very high power executive women coming to me. And it was really interesting. They were near burnout or they had burnout. And the biggest stressor was always not the amount of work. The amount of work they were doing, in my eyes, was a symptom. They worked so very hard because there was something else missing. They felt really lonely and unloved. And with men, it came out in a similar thing, but with them, it's a bit more different. They had a girlfriend very often, but then, they were not fully present. They were being lived. That's like the two people. I have power women that, like they have a problem letting go. And then the man was more like, okay, they are more stuck into always having to do more, not choosing to do more, but having to do more. So that's the people that I work with.
Wow, that's a very cool story. But now you described a lot how you're helping other people. But how did you find your own happiness after you had to stop fighting and you couldn't live your dream anymore? Yeah, what did you do before you helped others? What was the first step you did for yourself?
First step was running away into party, into being a bad boy. I was a real bad boy. And I learned a lot about relationships, about that. But yeah, that's what I was. I just went. I digressed the furthest of my values that I had. I would never have thought that I would have done the things that I did. But then, certain moment, I was in Bali, and there's something special about Bali. It's like that provides you with a big mirror and says, like, look at yourself, see what's here. And all of a sudden, I saw an ugly person. And that was okay. I was ashamed. I was ashamed of myself, and in that moment something started to shift. I started to realize, like, you have been running away for a long time. You have been running away in fighting, you have been running away from the pain that you had went through, like I lost my father when I was 21, and I just, locked off a very important part of myself because I believed I couldn't take it. It was too much. And it was only when I started opening up for the realization that I can handle it. It's not nice. It's not nice to feel pain and to feel sadness and to feel guilt and remorse and to feel all those things. But when I stopped resisting that, something beautiful started to happen, because all of a sudden there came much more joy, like unconditional, just all of a sudden. And I started to become aware of all the different complexities. For example, like a lot of people say you can have high vibration emotions or low vibrations emotions. So that to me is absolute bullshit. You know why? Because I've noticed that when you really pay attention, there are always different layers. For example, when you you're in love, you're infatuated with somebody, there is fear. There is anger when they don't answer you. There are all these complex mixture of emotions. Or when you have a broken heart. So when I used to do it, if I had a broken heart, I went out and went the bad boy and just, tried to forget it all by action. Of course, the classical. But then a few years ago, I decided just, okay, let me feel this now. Like, let me just really feel how it feels in the body. And something very strange happened, because all of a sudden it became bittersweet. But before that, I thought it was just bitter because I was not paying attention. But when I started to pay attention to how it felt in my body, I could feel that the only reason I could feel this pain was because I dared to open up, I dared to feel, I dared to have enjoyment. And the fact that that was gone at that moment, that bliss, that connection, that was hurting me. But at the same time, it could only hurt because I had the privilege to experience this. And when I was younger, after my father died, for 2 years, I felt nothing. Like, I can understand why psychopaths do what they do, because like feeling nothing is horrible. It's like you're dead. You're walking around as a machine. Who wants to be a machine? So I want to feel. And that was my biggest thing. And then there was one big jump, and the second big jump that I found is that at a certain moment I noticed I was feeling really entitled to all kind of things. And I got really offended when people didn't give me time. And at a certain moment I started to click. And I think it's because in Bali people and time it's a bit flexible. But all of a sudden, I realized, like, I'm entitled to nothing. I'm entitled to jack shit. The only thing that I'm entitled to is that I will die one day. Now, but that was very interesting, because in that moment I didn't need to be angry anymore. And then every time that somebody spent with me was an absolute gift. Like, for example, now our conversation, and that you allowed me to guide me in the hypnosis, that was a gift. That just warms my heart. It's such a beautiful thing, such a deep connection while we actually don't know each other. That's an honor. Nobody can take that away from me. And that really made me actually almost unconditionally happy, because even when I'm in pain, I have pain, I've started to really make it a practice to see that as something beautiful too, something part of the life that we have, something part of our experience.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's very deep, actually. Like, there's no pleasure without pain, and I guess there's no happiness without sadness. So actually connecting when you are in these dark moments, or when you're feeling negative emotions, knowing that that's only triggered because you felt like good and positive emotions before. So what else did you do? So you said you were more aware, but did you do anything kind of practical to learn how to connect more with your emotions?
Well, first of all, like, I had the girlfriend where we went real much in very soft tantric connection, where I called bare bones tantra, where actually there was nothing special. It was just eye contact, breathing together, and almost not moving, just feeling the energy. And it was and kissing, and it was such an incredible experience. Like, for 3 months, we connected for at least an hour every day, but it was so soft and it was so connected, and I felt so loved, and she felt so loved. It was like and it was as if through my connection with her, I could connect with yeah, I'm going to sound very about the universe, but like I'm a scientist, so to me it was really weird. I started to get in touch with more spiritual experiences, and that was because of my connection with this beautiful lady. And then dance. Okay. So after my fight career, I started dancing a lot because I couldn't do heavy training, and dancing was kizomba and zouk was very soft and sensual, and that I was allowed to do. And so it was really beautiful. And in it, I noticed that I realized that the reason that I was so addicted to fighting was not, well, of course, like I have that masculine, but it's more about connection. People don't realize the connection that you have with an opponent when you're in the ring is so pure. It's very indescribable. You only have it when you have like this pure carnal connection with a woman, or you with a man, or a man, or depending on your own taste, But it's like that you can compare it with like that very unique thing that happens a few times in a lifetime, where it's you just completely blown away because you're so connected to each other. It's only that present moment is there, and the rest is just gone. And you have your team in your corner that has supported you all the way, that has pushed you, that have supported you, that have called you out when you're being a little bitch. and then you have like the people around you, thousands of people, half of them booing you, don't want you to see you win, and half people that are there to see you. And that's an incredible feeling. That feeling of being alive, I miss still every day. But it was very carnal, very in line with my dominant nature. Now, what I noticed in the dancing was that, of course, as a man, you lead, so it was very much in touch with my dominant nature. But it helped me to relax like nothing else, because kizomba, I don't know if you know it, it's like the African tango. It's very sensual, very slow, and then I could feel the effect of that being close to feminine energy, to a woman has on me. It might be biological or energetic, I don't know. But the fact is when I connect deeply with women, even if it's just not a word has been said, there is no kissing, there's nothing, there's just this connection through the music, like I sleep like a baby. It calms me down. It's like it's like that polarity, and the more feminine the woman, and the more she just can surrender completely in the moment, the more she pulls me into the moment. And then that has been a big help for me.
So you're saying basically happiness to you means kind of connection, and to yourself, to others, to the universe as well, and feeling these like sensations very deeply.
Yeah, to me, happiness is not always fun. To me, pleasure is everything that connects you deeper with life. I call it the full contact life. It's like intimacy. Real intimacy is not comfortable. It's scary. It's painful, and you have to learn to hold on to yourself. So people think always that intimacy is this: we are one. That's not intimacy. That's enmeshment. And the problem is then that you become really reactive to each other. So you have a few options. So often people think, intimacy is I meet your wine and beer. And you meet each other. And, it's interesting. So I do some wine with my beer, and you do some beer with your wine, until you're like this mixture that nobody wants to drink, because you're practically having sex with yourself. Who wants to do that? And so we have to learn to stand on our own 2 feet. That's scary, because we have nothing to lean on anymore based our own 2 feet. And then when our partners pressures us, we have to be able to stand on our own 2 feet and say, no, that's not what I want. But when you learn to say no, then something magical happens, because then yes becomes worth so much more. If somebody always says yes to you, it becomes meaningless. Like that they do it just to please you. But if somebody says yes when they dare to say no, then that yes goes so deep. But that's a challenge, of course, But then when you're here, when your partner, and it's scary because your partner could turn around and walk away. But when you do that, when you are both able to stand on your own 2 feet and you're able to walk away, then you're much more able to stand here, to come closer to yourself and closer to each other. And it's like this pulsation, almost this orgasmic wave between that polarity between the two.
Yeah. So how do you do that? Would you say by knowing yourself?
Well, yeah, but very often I see people, and a lot of people, they say to me, yeah, before I have to relate, I have to get connected with myself. And that is true, but also not. Because very often when we're on ourselves, it's pretty easy to hold true to ourselves. But then when we get into a connection, that's it. That's why I call relationships are like the fast track for personal growth. It's only when I was in relationships that all of a sudden all my shadows came up, like, and all the things that I was not aware of, all my blind spots. All of a sudden, I got really irritated and triggered. Well, yeah, it was very simple because the lady that I was with could see very well that I was talking bullshit. That I was not being true to myself. So, like, a lot of people think, yeah, I have to be with myself. I have to connect with myself, and that's true. Absolutely, it has a beautiful space. But at the same time, very often the things that will pull out our blockages are in connection with somebody else. I truly believe that. Now, the challenge is then, and that's why we need time with ourselves, is then when it pulls out, to stay present and not run away, or not blame. That is, of course, like, this interplay. It's like the yin and yang, connection with yourself and connection with the other person.
Yeah. That's very interesting what you say. So I feel like I experienced that myself. I tried to, after my long-term relationship, to fix myself and work on myself, and like the time I was alone. And then when I was with somebody again, I was like, but there are still like some, triggers and some things I have to work on. And I kind of thought, like, I'm so in peace and now everything is good. But then they only come up if somebody else is actually like triggering you. And then, to stay there and work on yourself, like in that relationship, that's actually the real challenge. And I read that in Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I don't know if you heard of. No, to me, the most incredible books, the series of books. He says the only true reason why to enter a relationship should be wanting to grow. And I feel like that's, what you said, it's a fast track of growth to be actually with someone. Yeah,
it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm addicted to connection. Like this, I really enjoy this conversation. But I would love to know what brought you more on this path.
On this path of happiness, of finding.
Happiness. Happiness, because that's what you want. Then, or you're sharing happiness with the world.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think, like you, I mean, I came from also like a dark place, or from a place where I thought, I had everything. I thought I was happy. And then life throws like little stones in front of your feet. At first you kind of stumble and you don't really listen. And then there's like a really big rock. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I cannot go left and right. Like, what do I do? Now I have to look inwards and change something. So, I guess a lot of sad things happened. And then there was a time where I was really like depressed and suffering from anxiety. And as you would call it, maybe also a burnout in my corporate job. And I was just very deeply unhappy, even though I, still had a lot of things on the outside where you would say people are like successful or have everything. And then I had to start to look what was truly making me happy and who I truly was. And what I really wanted from life, because I feel like very often, and no matter in kind of which career path you take, and your fighting career sounds very interesting and like impressive, but I feel no matter like what you do, often we follow life and we just follow a path. We just like continue living and doing, and also living up to society expectations, but not really knowing like what we truly want and who we truly are. And I love that about this podcast, because I love the connection to people as well. And I think that's a gift of technology these days, that we can have these conversations like so clearly over Zoom, even if we are on other sides of the world. But yeah, I met so many people with so many like incredible stories. And I feel often there is something in our way which wakes us up, and then when we find, like I say, the light of the other side of the tunnel, then we develop something out of that to help others to find it as well. And I think that's what you are doing, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm thinking, if everybody in the world discovers that, like, you know, what's that healing your own pain, like what you can bring out to the world and help others with. And I feel we all have that gift, and it's a matter of time how long we are not looking and not listening and not maybe feeling and connecting with ourselves and with our true purpose. But yeah, at some point, hopefully we find it all. And then I feel like we all walk each other home in a way, and that will just make the world a better place.
That's a beautiful question, isn't it?
One question I have, you mentioned, and I know men, I mean, like, well, there are a lot of men like dopamine driven. Are you still kind of chasing that dopamine rush, or in a way, because now you spoke a lot about connection, or did that change when you became aware of, or how is that with your clients as well? Or are there other ways to get these?
Yeah. Well, dopamine is in itself not a problem. Without dopamine, we wouldn't be able to do anything. So it has a beautiful function. The problem is the over-reliance on it. So, because when we use it too much, it becomes less powerful. Simple. We get habituated, we get desensitized. And so, what I teach myself and my clients to do is to really don't try to compound things. For example, when you go to the gym, like a lot of people, they put on heavy music, they take pre-workout, and then so you get all these little boosts, you know, but then you're depleting your things, and it's not pure. So if you can just leave that away and you go to the gym with like a sound canceling headphones, and you just do it pure, that's something completely different. Because in that moment, you also at the same time are training your present moment awareness. And that's serotonin. When you focus on the here and now, that's serotonin release. And that helps you actually take forward action. It's really interesting. You know, that's why it's called the alpha male or alpha animal hormone. It's like when you win, you get serotonin and it drives you forward. But also it's very closely related to oxytocin. So very often when we connect and we get calm, it's not because of oxytocin, because it only gets released when we have sex or we have long hugs, but it's the serotonin that gets released. And that helps us to build better connections too. So that is very essential. I think a lot of our culture of the lone wolf is the idea of the lone wolf is just not smart. Because we are wolves. We are like wolves. We're not like a lone tiger. And wolves are a group and pack animals. You know, that doesn't mean you have to do whatever everybody else does, but it means that without connection, we will be nowhere unless you're a psychopath. But that's a completely different story. You know.
Yeah. Very true. So at the end of the podcast, I always ask 3 questions. So one I asked you already, but maybe in a nutshell, you can answer. What does happiness mean to you?
Well, happiness means feeling connected with life. That's it.
Yeah, very good. And what do you do to be happy?
Start the day with intention to just feel whatever comes. Just to train myself to release all resistance. It's not easy. That's the intention.
Very good. And so you were like literally telling yourself, are you thinking that to yourself first thing you wake up? Or are you meditating on it? Or how do you do that?
Yeah, well, I meditate every morning, but it's not like I'm going to sit. Like, it's more like a movement meditation. I like to move. I like to feel my body, you know. So in that moment, I want to feel my body.
Yeah.
Like for example, the women that I work with, I say like dance. Before you do anything else, you want dance. Just Put the music that sound that fits with what you feel, and feel your body and express it. Do you feel ugly? Dance ugly. Just yeah, I found very big, good effects. It's incredible. Just doing that simple thing, one song, 3 minutes, nothing more.
Are you choosing the song, or are you letting them choose the song?
They choose the song depending on what they feel.
What they feel, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's for nothing. It's with alone in the mirror, like it just express yourself.
Yeah.
Learn to communicate with your body what you feel. Learn to really tap into, okay, what do I really feel? And it helps a lot for sure. Like go get women that are, for business have to be in their head. Like they're very often very dissociated from the body, and so you have chronic tension, you have back pain, you have migraines, you have stomach problems, intestinal problems. But then when you do that every day, every morning, every evening, there's like this cycle of like, oh yeah, it's time to let go mode and let go mode. So yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Is there another simple tool actually we can use to, connect to feel ourselves better?
Oh yeah, you just experienced it. I call it the pleasure scan. So very often when we are tense or when we are in our head, our muscles are tense. So what we can do, our body is made to go to harmony, to balance. So what we can do, we can create more tension. And it's a technique I have from sports psychology. So what you do is you breathe in deeply, hold your breath, squeeze all your muscles, your fists and your pelvic, all your muscles, feel the tension, feel how uncomfortable it feels. Breathe out, relax, sink back, and then just scan your body for pleasure. Notice in your body, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, how much enjoyable sensations you can find and what different kinds of you can find. And if you do that 1 minute, it will transform you. It's really, really interesting. It's a powerful tool that works for almost everybody. I never had anybody say, oh shit, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So people should definitely try that as well. And I like the dancing as well. Like I do that as well. If I'm in a very good mood, I dance anyways, but sometimes I force myself to dance. And when I was depressed, actually, I turned on like the same song every morning, and I was just like making the decision to dance first thing in the morning just to kind of shake it off. So that works from personal experience. So thank you. The last question is, what was the most beautiful, most happy moment in your life?
I think that's a hard question. I have so many beautiful moments. It's very weird. It must have been a moment where I was in deep pain, actually, when I had like my last broken heart, when I realized that I could handle it, and that the love that I had felt was so deep and so real and so uninhibited for the first time in 15 years. I just completely opened myself. And that was a very happy moment. But it was also very painful. It was that complexity that really, I felt fully alive. I felt, wow, this love was real, undeniable, unconditional. No matter what she would say to me, like I would still love her. I still do, by the way,
Oh.
I always like when I love somebody, it will never go away. Even if I had fights, or when like once you're in, you're in. That's how it is.
But can you now, look back without the pain and just be happy that you experienced that? Because I feel often, some people never experience this like true unconditional love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm really blessed. I'm getting better and better in it. It's like skill. It's a skill. It's a mind shift to know like I can open up without, and if I get hurt, yeah, it's okay. It's almost like this very very philosophical thing where I start to embrace the fact that everything's gonna end. Everything will die. Everybody will go away. Everybody will just dissipate. But in that moment, like I started to read, and I used to be really a dark kid. My father was ill very early, and I was really dark. Like, what is the meaning of life? But all of a sudden, it clicked, and I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. But if it's short lived, then every moment is so precious, and then it becomes a bit.
Yeah. Wow. So did you, after that, like allow yourself to love as much again, or was there a time where you were closing your heart?
Yeah. There was a time that I was like, I noticed myself closing up again, and then I'm like, oh, it's a practice. I'm not perfect at all, but like, it becomes better and better to just open. And I don't open immediately. I take my time. Like it's a precious heart. I should not open it for everybody, but if it does, it's fully. So that's
yeah. Because a friend of mine said that actually, like yesterday to me, and I actually don't know where the quote is coming from, but I found it so beautiful. It's like, love doesn't hurt, is the rejection which hurts. So to actually open your heart and feeling the love and allowing that, I mean, will never hurt you. It's just the moment when we feel rejected by someone, when we experience pain. So. And I feel like a lot of us do that to close up after a heartbreak. And I mean, it is very natural, but I think it's also very important to work on that and then allow yourself to open up again to actually feel that positive emotions as well. And don't think that the love is the scary part, that it would just be the rejection. And as you say, everything ends sometime anyway.
Yeah, like I believe that when I was really not allowing full. Like when I was trying to suppress pain and suppressing pleasure, like it's like, I want to love pleasure, so why would I do that?
Yeah. Right. I have one more question for you. Is there any book you would recommend for our listeners to read?
Yeah, like if you're a nerd like me, wait, I'm gonna show it to you. It's my absolute favorite, but it's for therapists, because. Yeah. It's like Constructing the Sexual Crucible, an integration of sexual and marital therapy from David Snarch. He's a genius. And he has another book, Brain Talk, which goes about trauma but more about how you can. So he has a very interesting view on psychology. And he doesn't focus too much on attachment theory, but he focuses on self-differentiation, whereby you learn to become self-sourced. So I really love it. He's a powerful guy. Well, he used to be because he died with COVID. And then, but this is a bit nerdy. And then another book, what I also really love is The Erotic Mind from Jack Moran. It's like he's one of the biggest inspirations for Esther Perel. And Esther Perel's books are also fantastic when it comes to intimacy. Yeah. What else? That's about it. And then I have a bunch of other books, but there's always a little idea. But David Snarch work, and he also has more popular books. His books are really, really fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will put these all in the show notes so people can find them.
Cool.
And I will also, put all your details so people can find you as well. So if anybody wants to, work with you and experience more, performance with pleasure. And but Nico, that was very inspiring. Thank you very much for sharing your story and sharing your light and sharing more pleasure, giving more pleasure to the world and doing what you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and you got inspired on how to experience more pleasure in your life. If you want to get in touch with Nico and learn more from him or work with him, I will put all the links in the show notes. I wish you a wonderful day, no matter where in the world you are. I'm so happy and deeply grateful that you took the time to listen, whatever you're doing right now, if it's walking, cycling, driving, or cooking, or just relaxing at home. I'm always so happy to hear from you, so please let me know how you like this episode and comment on my Instagram or write me a message, and please share the podcast with all of your friends. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Wish you a great week. Stay happy. Love and namaste.